already 1-0.
Always on top. Bam. Come on, always on top. You can do it. Always on top, and no. Alright, we try this again. And hi. This always on top script never works. Come on. Alright. Where are you, always on top? Okay. Are you gonna work? You can do it. You still need that stream multimeter. I have a BNK that's on the way actually. I'm gonna see if that works. But first, let's see if I can get my always on top program to work, so that I can make the chat window actually show up on the screen regularly. Okay. So we do this. We pop out chat. Control spacebar, and it don't work. Always on top is okay. Always on top doesn't work anymore. Lame. Settings. Use a hotkey. Set hotkey. Bam. You must restart. I'll just use that. I give up. I cave. Alright, so there won't be a lot of chat reading today since I can't get the window to always be on top. Some of these scripts are... why doesn't Windows just build this into the operating system at this point? So aggravating. I don't get why Windows doesn't just build basic window management from XFCE in 2002 into the operating system at this point. Okay. So I'm going to read chat very intermittently since the window is not on the fucking screen. All right, so today we've got an 820-3437 that's dead, and we're going to try to figure out why. Now, one cool thing I got going, I didn't get my multimeter today. UPS rescheduled it, but I do have this cool little thing here where I can show you the where I can show, let's see if that works, where I should be able to show you the power supply on screen. There we go. Isn't that cool? So I can control my power supply from the computer and I can make it show up in OBS. Look at that. So I'm going to plug this board in and we're going to take a look at what it does. So it looks like it's drawing 0.086 amps. So we have to figure out what that means. Now remember what I said in one of my earlier videos in the DC power supply? Every time you see the machine drawing a different amount of amps, it's going to tell you a different thing. And let's see where all you are. Use always on. Desk Pins is a halfway decent program for always on top. You know what? I'm just going to try installing that right now. Because this is going to drive me nuts. So let's see. We're going to download this lovely program. That comes from one of these websites where the download button is hidden, where you can't find... No. This soft tonic is cancer. Let's try a different website. Before we get started on that board repair. I'm doing well, thank you. Let's see, here you go. Desk Pins. For Windows, damn. This goes back to Windows 90-something. That's impressive. All right, let's open this random application that somebody from YouTube suggested I install from the internet. Nothing can go wrong there, right? Nothing could possibly go wrong there, right? Desk Pins. Let's see where the F that installed it to. Yoink. Let's see. C. Okay, pin to start. Make myself a shortcut. And how is your eyesight? Oh, lovely. Just going blind. Let's see. So how does this desk pins thing work? All right, we click pin. We click this window, and holy crap, it works. All right, so always on top can suck it. This is much better than always on top because it actually just works out of the box. There we go. That's what I like. All right, none of that. It's been driving me nuts for the past few streams. It's a shame that there's still omissions for you in Linux that you're forced to use Windows. Still, it's the reality of, yep, such is life. Okay, so what do we have here? We have my schematic, board view, and bam. Let's make sure that my shortcut works so that I can... There we go. I can toggle on my DC power supply. And hopefully by this time on next week, you'll be able to see the multimeter on screen next to the DC power supply. That will be cool. So typically, when you're missing your... Typically, when you're missing... What was I about to say? Typically, when you have like 0.025 amps draw, and that's one of the most common things, which is missing PM sleep S4L, which means you have S5 rails, but you're missing everything above it. 0.2 volts, 2.2 amps typically means there's a short to ground somewhere. 0.5 amps is working, but 0.1 amps, 0.09 amps typically means that it is trying to turn on but can't. So there's like one rail missing. And I think that's going to wind up being the case here. So let's see if that is the case here. Is that a new desk? Yes. Check this out. So when I show you something on the microscope and I move around, like, look at how steady that is. Look at how steady this desk is. Is that not cool? So I can move the board around. I mean, watch. So right now I'm stepping on the floor. Look at this. Look at this. Do you remember how much this used to shake before? So this is me stepping on the floor. That is a new office. Look at that. It barely moves. Here, look at this. Okay, it moves a little bit, but that's much better than before. Like, I would look at the fucking board and the thing would shake. So, yep. New table. This stream brought to you by Husky and Home Depot. That sent me a table with a huge fucking gash in it for $350 plus shipping. But such is life. What multimeter are you getting this time? I got a B&K Precision. We're going to see how that works out. So hopefully that works alongside this circuit specialists thing. All right, so now let's see if my theory is correct. We're going to see if my theory is correct here. So we're going to go through my list of rails. Might as well just zoom in. You don't need to see the whole desk anymore. Just my sexy side of it. There we go. All right, so we're going to go through this list and see if my theory is right. Do we have most of our rails present? So I'm going to have to read you out the voltages because I don't have the multimeter in yet, but hopefully you'll be fine just trusting me on the voltages that I give you. You should never trust a New Yorker, but sometimes make some exceptions. So we're going to... Okay, got my meter on screen. So PP bus G3 hot is at the top. So where is that little guy? All right, and as you may be able to see on my left, 8.55 volts. 8.55 volts is fine. Now we move on to PPDC and has to be there or else other rails wouldn't be there. PP3V42 has to be there because the charging light is turning on. Now we go to PPV RTC G3H, G3 hot. Pepe volts RTC G3 hot. So where is Pepe volts RTC G3 hot? Pepe volt RTC is right here. So let's take a look at that area and check that out. And what do we get? Ugh. Pia. Gross. 3.3. Imagine that. We're actually getting 3.3 volts over there. You still use the Weller. I sure do. I use the Weller because everybody else is using the other shit. Yeah, so as you can see, Jason's desk On Jason's white privilege table, Asian privilege table, he gets the quick 861. But on, let's see, will this turn around enough for me to show you Paul's white privilege table? Paul's table has a fucking JBC, which costs $1,600. And my table has this horseshit Weller, but I deserve the shittiest one because my soldering is the worst anyway. So the way this works is the person with the shittiest soldering gets the shittiest station. It's only fair. Anyway. So I'm gonna take a wild guess that a lot of my 5V, maybe my S5 and S3 rails are present. So let's take a look at those ones. What's the yellow stuff? That's a multimeter and a soldering iron. Alright, so let's take a look at PP5ES5, PP5ES4, and PP5ESO. So I should be able to find all those rails in this area over here. And if I check them out, I'm pretty sure they work. So let's see. PP5E... Huh? I can make that microscope teeny tiny bit tinier. That would be great. Yes. All right, now let's see. So PP5ES5 is fine. PP5ES4 is present. See? That's great. If PP5ES4 was not present, we would be getting something more along the lines of 0.02 amp draw rather than 0.09. And I bet the SO rail is going to be there as well. So if we check PP5ESO, that's probably going to be there as well. Any advice on worse stations? Buy a Husky table. It makes a great workstation. Unless you get a scratched one like I got. Which I would care about if it wasn't for the fact that I'm going to destroy this thing in less than a week anyway. So I don't feel I get the right to complain about it too much. And this SO rail is there. PP5ESO is there. So I'm going to take a guess. Now, here's the as you know, in order for our S4 rails to be present, we need the PCH to turn them on, and the PCH is not going to do that if the clock chip is not working. So as funky and fucked up as this looks, believe it or not, this chip over here actually works. And I really don't want it to work, because if it didn't work, I'd be able to do some shilling. I'd be able to do something like, hey, how about you go to our website and check out where to buy yourself some new chips like this. Like, I would be able to do something like this and say, hey, you want to buy a clock chip? Well, check this out. You can just go straight over to the schematic. You could search on your board for U1900. You can come over here to this beautiful, beautiful website and type in U1900. And all you got to do is click this little button. And then, bam, U1900. Just like that. And it tells you what board it's compatible with. Only $649 by 5. And you can get it for as low as $599. Typically same-day shipping from New York. But I can't do that, because that chip is just fine. So if we were to look at how this works, we were to look at the U1900. U1900 does a couple of things. U1900 is responsible for creating the RTC clock. It's also responsible for creating the PPV RTC G3 Pepe. This is going to be hard. Pepe Volt RTC G3 hot rail. Now, Pepe V RTC G3 hot is there. We already measured that. Now, this clock signal, if this clock signal wasn't present, the PCH wouldn't be working properly. You need a clock signal in order for computers to do what computers do. And this, as you can see, goes straight to the PCH chip. The PCH chip is going to shoot out a signal called PM Sleep S4L right here. It's a system power management. And PM Sleep S4L needs to be present in order for me to have PP5E S4 RS3. As you can see, PM Sleep S4L is going to go to, come here. It's going to go to this chip, through this resistor, which is going to come out as P5VS4 RS3 enable. P5VS4 RS3 enable is going to go straight to U7501, which enables the circuit for PP5ES4. So, since I have PP5ES4, I know at this point that my clock chip, as fucked up as it looks, it's actually working. So I can't tell you that you can go to my website and buy U1900 with same-day shipping from New York City, Because even though we do offer same-day shipping from New York City on all clock chips, the clock chip's just fine. It's something else. So as screwed up as that looks, we have another problem. So if we were to look on the board, I would take a wild guess that since our SO rails are present, that the rest is not present. That the rest of the SO, some of them may be missing. Now, one of the things we know when we have an SO rail that's present, if we have an SO rail present, we automatically know that all of this stuff beneath it is present. So in order to be in an S5 state, I need all the G3 hots to be present. It's like a pyramid. In order for the S4s to be present, I need all the S5s present. In order for the S3s to be present, the S4s need to be present. In order for the SOs to be present, the S3s need to be present, and so on and so forth. So G3 hot means on all the time. S5, I think is another way of saying on all the time. S4, those are the rails that are only on when the computer's in hibernate, which is typically a state where the... so it's not completely off. I believe in that point you are... Yeah, you're not powering the RAM. You're powering, but you're not fully turned off yet. S3, I think, is suspend. Those are the rails that are going to be on when you usually close the lid of the computer. So that's going to be the RAM is still on, but the CPU is not on. And then SO is going to be on, everything's on. So CPU is on, RAM is on, screen backlight is on. So an SO rail would be something like screen backlight. You don't need the screen backlight to be on while the computer is sleeping. That's silly. So you would make that an SO rail. An S3 rail is something like RAM. You need that to be on even when the computer is closed, because you need, when you open the computer back up, you expect that the machine remember where you left off from, which means that the RAM has to be powered because RAM is volatile memory. In S5 state, the thing's off. You don't need the RAM and all this other stuff to be on. So in order to have it's like a pyramid. In order to have, Paul, you're scaring the shit out of me. Can you make a ringtone that's not like, fire? I keep thinking there's a fire alarm until I realize, wait, I never got one installed. Anyway, so you need it's like a pyramid. You need the G3 hots, then the S5s, then the S4s, then the S3s, and then the SOs. So if I have an SO rail present, I immediately know that every rail beneath it is present, which means I must be missing another SO. So what's going to be responsible for some of those SO rails being created? Typically, the all-sys power good circuit, which is going to enable CPU vCore. And if we look at the all-sys power good circuit on this board, bleh, 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 gross, ugh, chewy. Can we just get to drilling out the CPU? No, I don't do things like that. We don't waste 12... What do you take me for? Someone that wastes 12 hours on a single board? For $99? You don't take me for somebody that wastes 12 hours in a single board for $99, do you? Oh, no. No, you must have me mistaken with somebody who's lost their mind. Anyway, so let's get into view and get to work. So what is this circuit here for? What does this do? Let's look it up. Q8150. So this area is going to take the voltages from almost every rail, a PP3V3SO, PP5VSO, PP1V5SO. It's also going to take voltages from other power good signals from other rails, like DDR-Reg, P1V05SO, P5VSO, RS3, P1V8, S3 for the RAM, and so on and so forth, and output a signal called all-sys power good. Once all-sys power good is present, all-sys power good is going to turn into something that I think turns on CPU vCore. Maybe that's just on the older models. Let's see. That could just be on the older ones. Oh, it's going to go in a U1950. U1950, once it gets all-sys power good and CPU VR power good, is going to create PMSOP good. PMSOP good combined with SMC delayed power good is going to create PM, PCH, sys, per okay. And once the PCH sees that, in system power management, it knows that I can turn on the computer. So first things first, it looks like one of these logic gates is covered in some type of STD'd come right over here. And you can see that clear as day. I froze OBS. Focus, you bastard. Okay. There we go. So, froze for a second. We're back. So, if we go up to this little thing that looks like it is covered in semen, is this logic gate that takes all sys power good and CPVRP good and creates PMSOP good so that that can become sys power OK and PMPCH sys power OK. So I wonder what it looks like under this chip. And I love the fact that I can actually knock around on the table and the microscope doesn't shake. Anybody else appreciate that? You like the fact that you can actually see this stuff without getting dizzy? Look at that. That is a nice table right there. That is a table for the stars. Look, someone says it looks like someone wiped their ass with that board. It sure does. Now that area actually doesn't look too bad, believe it or not. It's something a little bit to the upper right. Right under where I put the flux. And I'm going to show you that once I start heating it. And you'll see instantly what I mean. I replaced my front screen digitizer on my iPhone and now GPS isn't working. That sucks. That sounds like a question for Jess's new forum that we're going to be setting up. So right over here, you'll see that we have a hole in the board. And I think that this is going to be the cause of our issue. See this? I mean, granted, we have corroded stuff, but the corrosion is not a deal killer on the components. It's this. This physical hole over here is what concerns me the most. So what concerns me the most is my plastic water bottle right next to the WHA 900, but let's move that. All right, so if we look on the here, this point that my tweezer is on looks like this, PP5ESO. So this is supposed to be going to here, which I'm pretty sure it's probably not because it's burned. We're just going to confirm that. So let's just plug my MagSafe adapter back in. I love the fact that you can actually show amperage on screen. I really can't wait to have the multimeter set up like this as well. Fuck GPS, don't use it, NSA will track you. How are you doing, Paul Daniels? So it looks like we actually do have 5 volts there in spite of the hole in the board. That's freaky. And also kills my theory. Alright, so we're just going to lift some of the stuff that looks really nasty because my theory has been disproven. So let's just put a tiny bit of flux. No need to put an exorbitant amount. Just a little tiny eeny weeny bit. I replaced my windscreen and now Google Maps is showing the correct route every time. Please help. That sounds like it's doing what it's supposed to. I get bullied enough in real life. Why does YouTube chat have to be mean? Such is life, my friend. Alright, so when we remove U1950, you may notice that under that dual logic gate, we have a burned looking pad. But that pad may not actually be burned. It may simply be covered with corrosion that I can scrape off if I just gently go over it with the tweezer. So we're just going to scrape over that gently. And then we're going to put some solder on it. And this is probably going to work. Because we don't spend 12 hours on boards for $99 here at Rossman Repair. Do we, Paul?
Definitely not.
Would you spend 12 hours on a board for $99?
$425.
$425. But for $99?
Not even on the holidays.
Not even on the holidays. Damn straight. We have our priorities straight here. Okay. Would you drill a hole in the CPU for $99?
Hell no.
Hell no?
Hell no.
That's the spirit. Would you drill a hole through the phone without a guarantee that it would work for $99? I think I would do that.
Without a guarantee, that sounds better.
Alright, so. Come on, heat up, little hacko. Heat up. Use free software on your phone, avoid Google services. What type of phone would you recommend getting if you want to avoid Google?
Windows phone.
But then you have Microsoft, which is like the original scum. If you want to avoid all these companies that likely sell your data to everybody, who are you going to use? I could definitely get used to this perfectly stable microscope. The temperature would cause a hole in the board. It's not so much the temperature as it is the liquid slowly, the chemicals in the liquid combining with the electricity. Not the chemicals, the minerals in the liquid combining with the electricity, slowly corroding things away over time. I should add U1950 to the website. I gotta do that soon. So let's, because I believe I'm still taking that off of donors, which is ridiculous at this point. That vacuum works great.
What?
The vacuum works great.
No.
So ready for the scary question?
What?
Has anybody here actually cleaned out the inside of it yet? Remember what happened to the shop vac? That was like 3 years worth of not cleaning out the inside of it.
Let me guess, you've been using it the whole time.
I have not cleaned it out
I
once.
literally used it like once or twice.
I have to clean it.
Oh.
It's nice to have a shop vacuum cleaner. I spoiled myself. I got a new desk, a new floor, a vacuum cleaner. I sold all my AGRX today. I'm wondering if I'm going to regret that. I bought in mostly around 250 to 315. And then last week I bought on the dip around 430 something. I'm curious if I'm going to wind up regretting that. Because I know with my luck, like tomorrow, I mean not tomorrow, on Friday I'm going to check and it's going to be like $7 or $10. Use an old Nokia S60. Ugh. Use an Nexus 5 with Ubuntu Touch. You know, I didn't know. I thought that they kind of abandoned that for phones. Okay, I just took that chip off and it flew. Fail. So I wonder if I can see it now that I have a clean table. Nope, not a chance. It's gone. It's in the air filter. Let's grab another one.
My hole just went on fire.
The hole in the board?
Yeah, it just went on fire.
But does it turn on?
It's turning on, but I'm getting no screen. And that hole's on fire.
Wait, keep it on long enough to get a screen. Let the hole just burn for now. How many amps does the HP say? Oh my god. It's 3 amps
3.
with no battery. Okay, fuck it, stop. Yeah. You're gonna have to pick that out slowly. Did Paul just say he has a hole on fire? Yes. How come you and Jessa both have the sniffles, Lewis? Well, we both have the same STD, it seems. Stop abusing computers. No. Was that the prison stock? No, that was the birth control stock. Prison stock was CXW. I sold that long ago. This is a company that's coming out with a patch that kicks Arthur Evra's ass. It seems to hit very hard resistance at 520 since everybody sells it off. So I was debating whether or not I should buy back in. Wait for it to... Wait and buy back in. But again, with my luck tomorrow, I'm going to see... I mean, on Friday, I'm going to check it out, and it's going to be like $10. Because I sold it today. Jess is going to make sure you regret it one way or another. This board is like a landfill. Well, it's an apple. Thank you to Oscar. That's very nice. That message. Okay. So let's see. Do you think it's going to grab more amps now and turn on, now that it has a working U1950? Nope. Still 0.09. Still most likely dead. Okay. So what's up next? Well, I'm not digging a hole. We do not. This is not iPad rehab. All right. Let's just wipe off and replace all that other crap by Allsys Power Good. So all those things that are corroded are the resistors by the Allsys Power Good circuit. Like R8151. Like all this stuff is by the is what's required for so every single one of these power lines is going through a resistor before it goes to this chip. And if all these power lines are working, this chip will get all its inputs, and then yay, we get Allsys Power Good, saying that the system, all power is good. All system power is good. But unfortunately, it looks like this. Which is one highly raped motherboard. This motherboard looks like a fourth wave vagina. Okay, so let's repeal as much as we can. This board looks like Charlie Rose's underwear. This is disgusting. You got to go. And you. And you. And you. Come on. Don't be shy. All you corroded shit. Bye-bye. Okay, it's time for the broom. Will bypassing a dead R7051 help bring charging back? You don't bypass, you replace it with the proper component. If you don't bypass your current sensing circuit. If you bypass your current sensing circuit and your ISL6259 is dead, you will then destroy a lot more in your computer. Don't do that. There's a reason that God put a resistor there. And by God, of course, I mean Steve Jobs. There's a reason Steve Jobs here God put a resistor there. There's a reason there's a resistor there. It's so that if your ISL6259 dies, it does not short your battery to ground. Do you want to short your battery to ground? Do you want to see what happens when you take your battery and short it to ground? I didn't think so. I didn't think so. We have a video of that, actually. Look up how to replace an A1502 battery on my channel. You can see exactly how that's going to work. How do people let this happen to a $1,000 device? Why, many ways. Thank you for asking. Their parents paid for it, so they don't care. They got it as a result of a student loan that they don't think that they're going to have to pay off, even though they do. So, they don't care. Or, they're just generally nasty, which happens to be the case with a lot of the people that, well, that can wait for another video, but that, let's just say that the more artsy-fartsy hippie the neighborhood is, the more the machines kind of look like this on the inside. Hey, good for business, though. Good for business. So, let's get this going because I do not have 12 hours to spend on a single board. Forgive me, Jobs, for I have sinned, says Spoon. Damn straight. Do not replace your current sensing resistor with a wire. What? I feel like a little robot. I gotta touch up the solder on that one. What are you doing with the board? I am repairing it. Okay, we're going to wait for that to cool off for a moment. Not too long, because this board has excellent heat dissipation and absorption properties. So, and then after that, we're going to plug it in and see what we get on the power supply. Hey! 0.5 amps, which means you probably have a fan spin. Or a dead short. One or the other. And look, it's fan spin. So, that is solved. That's awesome. Solved, working board. All sys power, good repair. Just going to move on to the next one now. Look at this pretty desk. Yeah, that's what you get for trying to take an easy one. Now you get to stay here until 1 in the morning like Jessa, and you just dig out that short. Alright, let's make... email. iPad Rehab is here. Hey, you're here just in time to drill a hole. I wish I gotta get a wire. We have to get a wire so I can attach your microscope to this. Or split it. Actually, wait, I can. We got that splitter thing up there, right? Yep. Yeah, bam, I got the cable. So, now, Paul, no matter how many times you clean up the office, I'm gonna find a way to drag a cable along the floor. That's just the way this is gonna work for now. Let's see. So Jessa has been a bad influence because while I'm fixing my boards in 20 minutes or less, after watching Jessa's stream last night, Paul here is deciding to drill holes in things, which I'll be able to show you as soon as I attach this HDMI wire. I can't believe this. Wow, what a friggin' tangled mess this is. Yeah. Jason is not here today. Today is Jason's day off. Jason is working on whatever he wants to work on today. Maybe Jason's working on finding a Mrs. Jason. Yeah, I've been encouraging him to hit on the customers. That's a bad idea, though. That's probably We don't want to be like a Charlie Rose or a Weinstein here. No Weinstein. Okay, output 2. I like this little box. Do we still have the remote for this?
Yes.
Huh. What are the chances of that falling on your head in that current position?
Not likely.
Like,
Or why don't I have any signal now?
whoops. I screwed something up. Okay. Time to crawl under the table. Ugh. I feel like I work in the Clinton administration. Uh-oh. There we go. All right, so can you show Jessa your hole? Here, show everybody on stream your hole. So that's for the backlight fuse, right?
Yes, that's where it would be.
That's where the backlight fuse would be. And what do you have instead of a backlight fuse?
A fire.
Look, Paul has the JBC. Fanciness.
Nope, still on fire.
Yeah, fail. So that that connect. What you may have to do is run a separate path for PP-Bus G3 Hot. PP-Bus G3 Hot actually does not go to a lot of stuff. So if you have a short in the board on PP-Bus G3 Hot, you're going to have to move the fuse off, and then everywhere that PP-Bus G3 Hot is going, you're going to have to run the wire to. Now, luckily on this board, I think it only runs to a single current sensing resistor. So let's look that up and see, because this may actually be reasonably solvable. And by reasonably solvable, I mean miserable. That's a 3437?
00165.
Okay, 00165. So we have to figure out where PP-Bus G3 Hot goes to, because you have a hole. All right. So PP-Bus G3 Hot is on this fuse, and that's going to go to, yeah, so it looks like it goes to a current sensing resistor prior to it going to the rest of the system. So can you see the current sensing resistor that it goes to? It's going to go to this thing, R5450. R5450. Yeah. So that current sensing resistor is actually going to have to get lifted off of the pins 2 and 4, which is 2 and on this side. So you're going to have to lift that off of the board. So that the white thing is going to have to get lifted, and then you're going to run a wire between the fuse and there. So if PP-Bus G3 Hot inside the board is shorted to ground, you're just going to, instead of running the traces on the board, within the board, you're going to run them through a wire network.
So should I remove the fuse and power it up and see what happens?
But you would remove the fuse and then move it to the side so that it's no longer on the PP-Bus G3 Hot line.
Make sure that that's what's shorted.
It's not fully shorted because it still turns on, obviously. It's just shorted to enough that the board smokes.
Yeah, it's a 1 ohm short.
So yeah, 1 ohm is... And you're saying that this is turning on?
Fans?
Oh, that's because you're powering it off of the HP charge. Yeah, see, a MagSafe would not turn on. Oh, I can't believe you're doing that. Let's see. Is it smoking?
Yes. Very lightly now. Before it was actually fire. But now I don't have a fan spin either.
Okay, now what you have to do is just get rid of PP-Bus G3 Hot and run all the PP-Bus G3 Hot stuff on its own line. So everything that is on this board view software here that's PP-Bus G3 Hot is to go bye-bye. So let's see if I can make Landrex take up the whole screen for a moment. F12 and make that Landrex. And yeah, let's get rid of, not Landrex, but, oh crap, yeah. I still have it set to actually Landrex. That's how long it's been since I used this thing. And okay. And put this all the way up. Doesn't show. Interesting. Okay, what if I do? Oh, if I do full screen, it doesn't show. Alright, so everywhere that PPBus G3 hot is, so... and luckily there's not a lot. There's like one, actually there's one transistor, never mind. So that has to get lifted up. So that has to get lifted up because that senses PPBus G3 hot. There's a resistor, another resistor, and those who cares about those capacitors? And there's something for Thunderbolt, but fuck if they're getting Thunderbolt with a hole in their board. And yeah, that's really it. R5450 looks like it's going to be the hardest one. Can your site deliver it to South America? Absolutely we do. Unlike the evil iPad rehab store, supply store, we ship to all countries because we are not xenophobic. We ship to all countries. All countries. So have you ever done one where you've had this stuff like dead bug on the board or... like where you've lifted the resistor up and then run a wire to something?
I've never done one of that.
Those are the most fun. Unless they take 12 hours, in which case, of course, they're obviously no longer fun or sensible.
But it looks like there's more going to it than what you're showing.
What do you see?
You on my microscope?
Yeah.
So, this is the line right here.
Yeah.
So I see where it's going here. It's going to this little guy here, that there.
Show me? Let's see. Oh, it's going to it's going to those two as well.
But then it also comes over here to all of these caps.
Well, it goes to those caps after it goes through that current sensing resistor. So watch, if I put on the board view software, like all those caps over here, they're after the resistor, after R5430. So that's not going to be PPBus G3 hot. Actually, let's see. Can you look at R5430 actually? Is that a no stuff?
That's the no stuff, and this is just shorted straight through.
Can you remove R5450 and confirm that?
The bottom one?
Yeah, the white one. Remove that resistor and the white privilege resistor. Jess is here. But in all seriousness, it sounds like Jessa had a difficult day yesterday and today, so everybody should go over to her channel and leave a happy, positive, kind comment. Jessa gives away so much information for free that nobody else in their right mind would ever give away. She teaches, she helps, she contributes. Jessa deserves a round of applause. Okay, so now, with that gone, now the resistor above it, does this pin that I'm showing on, is this pin short to this pin?
This and this
Yeah.
is the same thing. This, if I scrape this resist off, you'll see that it's all one trace.
You're fucking with me. No.
It's all one trace straight through.
Oh. Suka Ballet.
Well, it depends on where it goes through the layers. I could cut this here.
I think you can actually peel that kind of trace up.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
cut this out right here.
Yeah, because I've peeled those things off before.
I'd love to know where the via is and just cut that out.
Yeah, go for it. It has a hole in it anyway. You can't really fuck it up much worse. Jessa has a 2-in hole in her head after fainting in the shower at 4 last night. That was a tough day. I hope you get better, Jessa. I really do.
So I should start filleting this board?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
All right, one lesson that you learn, never update working software. Half of the time that I try to full screen it, it freezes. Shouldn't have upgraded. Poor Exacto. I'm going to have to get more blades after this. Do you do GPU reballing? No, because that's a scam. That doesn't actually fix anything. Did you hear about the Xbox One X hardware failures on launch date? No, I haven't followed that much. Scrapey, scrapey. That looks painful. I'm kind of curious if the fuse is what feeds that. Could you scrape it away at the fuse easier than you could scrape it away there? But then again, you never know. It could actually go into the board. Yeah, it could go into the board. Never mind. Yeah, so it's probably better to scrape it at that area. I tried Mark's scalpel last night, and it was way more effective than my Exacto, says Jessa. Huh.
That side is no longer shorted to ground.
And the other side is?
The other side is.
Well, there you go. All right, now we begin an adventure. So take that fuse and move it off the shorted section. So it's only going to be soldered to one pad.
This one.
Well, first we have to move the fuse.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to get moved. This is actually going to take forever, so it probably would be best for another day. Probably like solder it vertically so that it avoids the probe points. Yeah.
This is gonna be crazy.
Hmm?
This is gonna be crazy by the end.
I mean, keep it on the board, like have it flat on the board, but just facing down rather than to the side. Yeah, because standing up is gonna make it likely to break.
Like this?
Yeah, there you go. Maybe a little flux so that it's happy to stay there. I think it may be easier if you hot air that in there. I was curious the liquid used while soldering. That is flux. I have a link to it below. Hey, you found it. I didn't even mention that one yet.
Where?
That one. That's perfect. Yeah, that goes to that, yeah. It's like cutting tofu. You watch AVE every now and then. That's cool. That's yeah, you're doing it. That's better than the first one.
It came off nice and easy.
That was beautiful. All right, so I guess a wire from the fuse to there now.
Not sure. And I have, what is this, an audio amplifier?
That's for Thunderbolt. Just rip that shit off.
Yeah.
Just think of that like an appendix that's exploding.
I can do the same thing here. No?
Eh,
Not worth it?
but I don't think fixing Thunderbolt is a thing here just yet. Let's save that for the end. Like if everything else works, then we get Thunderbolt.
What about this resistor?
Well, what you're gonna do with that one is you're gonna have PP Bus G3 hot tied. See, okay, firstly you have to rip that shit off. See how this is going to that resistor? I mean, to this transistor.
Yes.
Right. So that has to get ripped off, and the resistor is going to sit up.
Vertical?
Yeah. So PP instead of PP Bus G, because this is shorted to ground over here.
Yes, this one is.
Actually, maybe you may be able to lie it flat if you just cut around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, just cut it because you're good at the cutting thing. You may not even have to lift it up. I wouldn't be able to do that properly. That's a cool trick. I like that. How much a repair like this can cost? $325 plus tax. That's a thick one.
You have to have your high voltage air gaps.
Andrew says, amazing the board cuts so easy. It's a Mac.
Not short.
Okay, so now it's got what else has to... So now I think you'll be able to lay the resistor down flat. But you'll just have to run a wire over to it. Yeah, so this helps because now you don't have to fuck around with the transistor and the resistors by it anymore. Yeah, so just resolder the resistor on there. Are you soldering at a sensible temperature?
398?
398, let's see, what is that? I think you're soldering at a sensible temperature. Yeah, that's 750 degrees.
I should turn it up.
Probably it's a little bit more flux. I think your flux burned away, that's why it's looking all... That's a really hard trace to solder to, though, because that's the main power, the resistor that powers the entire machine. Andrew says, with the PC motherboards I work with, they reinforce the very top and the very bottom layer of the PC board with some fiber mesh. Yes, but this is Apple. All right, that's sexy looking. So now you just have to run a wire to the top right pin from the fuse. And what you could do with that wire, you can maybe even actually have one wire do all of this. So you could have like a wire going from the fuse to this and then down to that other resistor that you cut the...
And up.
Whereas we're up.
It needs to go here, too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you could probably have one wire make that entire journey. From the looks of things, he looks like he feeds people scraps. Even worse, tofu and broccoli. That's dangerously close to the shorted one.
Yes, it is.
That's scarily close to the shorted one, Paul. Well, that's done. That's. If your desk jiggles anymore, you're done. What if that was the last point in the loop rather than the first?
Yeah.
Because then you would. I think it's dangerous to go directly over and scrub the soldering iron right next to the pad that's shorted to ground.
Well, then I just ruined my wire.
Oh. Maybe not. We'll measure later. I miss having a table that shook as I moved the soldering iron back and forth.
Isn't that great?
You move it up a teeny tiny bit? There. Beautiful. All right. All right, that wire has to make a stop at backlight too. New wire or keep using that one?
New wire.
And maybe if we're nice, Thunderbolt. Thanks, Lewis. I was telling my father, an electronics tech for 60 years, about your repairs. He didn't believe it was possible to do the stuff you do until he saw it. Oh, awesome.
Not short the ground.
All right. I think backlight is... Now, I think we're going to have power now. What happens if you plug it in? I don't think you're going to have that terrible boiling short in the board. You're drawing 1 amp. That's scary. Fan spin?
Fan spinning.
I'm worried that there's going to be something somewhere because you're drawing an amp. So never mind. You're down to 0.6 now. So that's not... Okay, that looks healthy. The 0.7 amps is kind of scary.
Are you reading that or that?
I'm reading that.
Oh,
Because it's usually 0.52. And you're drawing 0.7. What else is... Let's see. Is PP Best G3 Hot going to anything else that I'm not aware of? Actually... Yeah, so it's just backlight fuse and that Thunderbolt trace, and that's it. But power's restored. That's cool.
let's try backlight.
Now you just got to run the wire for backlight. Did you do the connector already?
Yes.
I imagine the original backlight fuse is blown. Is that a safe guess?
It was only half on the board.
Slightly higher amp draw. Maybe you shouldn't have drowned your board in liquid, says Chris Long. Point taken. It is possible that wire is resisting. It's hashtag resisting a little bit there. Yeah. Yeah. That looks profesh. That needs to the gaping hole in the board. That's professional. I love it. All right. I just daisy chain. Do you ever use a thermal camera? No, usually the side of my face. Side of my face makes a really good thermal camera. Soldered on? There you go. Looks pretty.
Not short to ground.
All right. I think this will have a backlight.
You still on it?
Let's see. Backlight or a firelight, but should have some type of light.
Something's gonna light up there.
Something will light up, I'm sure. What is your stance on net neutrality? I'm usually not for government, but here the government kind of fucked everybody by allowing monopolies to be created in the 1930s.
No,
No backlight?
the fuse shot itself right off. The fuse unsoldered itself.
Well, is there a short to ground on the backlight rail?
There must be. No.
Oh, yeah, check that out. See if there's a short to ground on backlight. The thing with net neutrality is that in the 30s, you had a bunch of ISPs that said, you know, how are we going to make any money if we don't have a monopoly in the area? You can't let we need to be the one that runs wires in this area. And the government should have said, hey, fuck you guys. We're not doing that. Instead, they're like, okay, we'll let you have your little infrastructure be created, but we'll make sure that nobody else can open up in your area, sir. Oh, no, because we don't think that people are going to wire areas if they don't get to be a regional monopoly. Okay. And then you wound up with a lot of people getting wired, but with these little regional monopolies. And the problem with the regional monopolies is that they can treat people like shit. So government intervention always winds up with more government intervention. And then you need so you're kind of stuck in this area where without net neutrality, it kind of fucks everybody if you don't have net neutrality, because you have these regional monopolies and you don't have a real market. But then it kind of begs the question of why don't you have a real market to begin with? And, well, there you go. It also pisses me off the amount of work the amount of permits, the amount of just fuckery dealing with the city to actually start an ISP in an area is fucking insane. If you're going to get rid of net neutrality, then at the very least work with the states, work with the individual states to destroy all the red tape that sits in between some billionaire dude opening an ISP and opening an ISP. Because there's a lot of it. It's torture dealing with a lot of the municipalities and with the city if you want to actually start an ISP. No, very few sane billionaires would actually bother doing that with the amount of red tape that's involved. Not even in opening an ISP, just any general construction. I mean, it's like in New York City, it's absolutely fucking insane the amount of red tape there is from the insurances to the licenses, to the permits. Is there a short to ground there?
There was. I think I got rid of it.
What was it?
5 ohm short to ground.
I mean, where was it? Like, what component?
Yes, it was the edge of the hole.
The edge of the hole?
The edge of the hole I had to pull out.
You had to pull out of the edge of the hole?
I had to pull out of the edge of the hole. You always have to pull out at the edge of the hole.
What happens if you don't pull out at the edge of the hole? Fire? It'll feel like fire?
All
Your-
kinds of problems.
Your tool will feel like fire. Yeah, there you go.
I doubt my fuse is still there. That fuse didn't blow. It unsoldered itself without blowing.
That fuse is probably destroyed now. Those wires insulated with a coating. Yes, they are. It's magnet wire. It's coated.
You believe that fuse is still good?
Is it? Is it?
Still good.
Oh, you gotta be kidding. All right. So you have to reattach and... That's crazy. Does the 4924 fan spin on plug-in? No, it doesn't. It only spins when it gets about 20 degrees hotter than the 3476 from the year before. So it'll spin. It's just it's got to get pretty hot for it to spin.
Close to the surface of the sun.
See, Apple figured out that they designed a machine that doesn't fail within a year or two, and they said, "Hold my beer. We're gonna do better next year." Well, what the fuck? We released a machine that doesn't have some random fault or flaw. Light?
No light.
What voltage do you get on backlight output? Wait, you lied.
What?
And cover it so you can't see their name. Yeah, because 4chan's gonna stalk them. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. So we got a jing. Can you show them what the rest of that board looks like for those that may be attending late? What does that look like?
You want to see it on that one?
No, this microscope's fine. Yeah, just show them what the actual board physically looks like. Oh, man. Can you have CPU heat without 5ES3? Only if you have a shorted CPU MOSFET. Because the CPU MOSFETs use Pepe Bus G3 hot to create CPU vCore, PP VCC SoCPU. So if the CPU MOSFETs are shorted, then PP Bus G3 hot is going to your CPU even if you don't have 5ES3 present. In which case your CPU is dead because the Haswell and Broswell are sissies. So look at that. Look at that. That goes almost all the way. How many layers does that go through? 1, 2, 3, 2 or 3 at least.
You can actually count them. If I tilt it up at the right angle, you can count them.
That's disgusting.
And then we follow our wire. Bam.
And it turns on.
Nice circuit board cuts.
Can you show all the cuts? Can I point to each one of those fresh deli cuts? Oh, also, Chris Long, you can have CPU heat if the CPU is shorting PP3v3S5 to the ground. So the PCH uses PP3v3S5, right? So the PCH uses PP3v3S5, and the PCH also uses PPVRTC G3 hot. And that machine, the PCH, is integrated into the CPU. So it can be hot because the CPU MOSFETs are screwed up. Yours is most likely PPVRTC or Pepe Volt 3v3S5 shorted to ground through the CPU. Damn, that's a nice cut. That is a very clean cut. Look at that. That is sexy. Oh man, that is awesome. Can you believe this shit actually works? It literally went on fire just 20, 30 minutes ago. And now it's producing a beautiful backlight. You got to take a picture of that for yourself. That's awesome.
Let's see if I get the layers.
Even if you have 3.3 volts, it may just be something like a 100 or 200 ohm short to ground crystal long. It'll still be able to feed that. So if the CPU is getting hot, it's either PP bus G3 hot voltage flowing there, Pepe 3v3S5, or Pepe Volt RTC G3 hot. Either way, that sounds like trash, in my opinion.
I wish this looked like it did in the microscope.
Yeah, if it looks sexier in the microscope, doesn't it? So how do we make your desktop shaking? I feel bad now that I have a desk that doesn't shake and you have that. They make a 4-foot version of this, right?
I'm gonna add some 2x4s to this thing.
Do you think it would work?
Possibly.
If it does, yeah, but if it doesn't, let's get you the same one I got. That's annoying. Holy crap. Damn, that's sexy.
Looks like a whole thing that sits down.
It does. I'm curious, what would you do in the military if a board looked like that? Like, would you do something like this, or just would they let you?
It's garbage.
Really?
Yeah.
So even if you were able to get it to work, what would happen? Like, they would not pass inspection, or somebody would look at it and.
That's nowhere near passing inspection.
Well, what do you have to do for a board to pass inspection? By the way, Paul was in the Marine Corps, so he's been doing this for a long, long time on radios and all that.
It needs to look professional. It needs to look like it just came out of the factory.
Oh.
Everything has to be reconformal coated, and most of our boards are potted anyway, where you have that spongy stuff that's all over everything, so it's completely sealed from water or anything. You ever seen a board like that that's potted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And it's spongy, so you can easily scrape it away to work on something, and then you have to put it back.
So how often do they inspect everything that you do, or just like 10% of it? How does that work?
No, every single thing is going past a sergeant or staff sergeant's eyes.
Is it like a regular staff sergeant, or is it somebody that is an expert in board level repairs, or is it like an army sergeant or something? Oh, that's scary.
None of us are experts in it. But as long as you follow the instructions,
But I mean,
like the stuff what's really different in the Marine Corps about this is that when we have something that needs to be fixed, we have full documentation on how it's going to be. Like full documentation to where they tell you grasp tweezers, put tweezers on left and right of fuse. They tell you step by step everything, and everything has a time value associated with it, and you know exactly how long it's supposed to take you to get something done.
Wow, that's the complete opposite of this industry.
It's super controlled.
So how much of what we do here would pass military inspection?
Nothing.
I'm glad
our parts wouldn't even pass, because the parts need to be exactly certified with the full NSN and everything like that. That's why everything's ridiculously expensive. We get most of our stuff from DigiKey because they list everything by NSN too.
Well, and that is our board repair. We're done for the day. Paul did a perfect job, better than I did on my first one. So that's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. So we're out of here.